Hello class and welcome back. Today we're going to get started with our very first online lecture. It's going to be talking about sharks, shark characteristics. We're going to go over the prefixes, suffixes, and roots for the unit, and then finally some shark vocabulary. So let's get right into it. So the initial part of what we were going to discuss was shark characteristics. There's a few ones that I want to cover before we get started, like the fact that sharks have a cartilaginous skeleton. Their skin has these little denticles that are not scales but very similar, analogous somewhat. Some sharks have 5 or 7 different gill slits, like this one that I'm pointing to. They don't have a swim bladder like fishes do. They undergo internal fertilization. They have a spiral valve intestine, and they have cartilaginous jaws that are loosely attached the bottom to the top. They have these rows of teeth that can be replaced within 24 hours if the outer ones are broken off. And they have counter shading, just like this image of the great white, where the white underneath is lighter than the top on the shark. So we discussed, I think, counter shading at one point, where this is an adaptation where organisms looking underneath cannot see the outline of the shark because of the light behind it that's flowing from the top, from the sun, and organisms on the top can't really see the shark from the top because of how dark it is on the top. Alright, so let's get started with the prefixes, suffixes, and roots for this unit. So iso means same or equal. Homo means same. Hetero means different. Circle means tailed. Seti means whale. Karchar means jagged. Ovi, ovo, or ove means egg. Vivi means life or living. Paris means birth. Nictar means blink. Dent, odont means teeth. And chondrichthyes. Chondrichthyes means cartilaginous fish. So sharks are cartilaginous fish. So you can see here pictures of that cartilaginous skeleton. So these organisms have been around for over 400 million years. So sharks have been around for quite a while. There's very little fossil records, mainly because of the reason that cartilage doesn't really fossilize well. You do have teeth that do end up remaining, and that's really how we know the majority of this information, that they were around 400 million years ago. So let's go ahead and get started with the shark vocab. So the first vocab is denticles. So we kind of talked a little bit about this being one of the characteristics of sharks. So they are small teeth-like structures that cover the skin of cartilaginous fish, and they feel like sandpaper. So you can see the images of the denticles, or the microscopic images of these, and you can see how they're very streamlined, and they actually do help with the fishes tracking through water, and it makes them much more agile so that they don't disrupt water molecules with how they have that fin shape. Next is osmoregulation, the active regulation of osmotic pressure of bodily fluids to maintain the homeostasis of the body's water content. That is, it keeps the body's fluids from becoming too dilute or too concentrated. This is important with organisms that live in salt water. They have to regulate the amount of salt intake that they have, and they have to maintain homeostasis like that. Next, we have the rete mirabile. The function of the rete mirabile depends on the fact that the blood within the net is flowing the opposite direction. This means that it has to have a counter current heat exchange. So this helps the organism stay warmer in colder water. So most sharks are ectothermic, meaning that they reflect the temperature of the water that they are in. Although not all sharks do that. So they have a rete mirabile that helps them maintain a little bit warmer and more active, essentially. Next is ampullae de Lorenzini. These are sensory pores on the head. They are electroreceptor organs. So electroreception is basically being able to detect electrical signals. So the electrical signals are found in the muscle spasms of other sharks, of other prey that it's after. So as it's looking for fish to eat, as the fish's muscles contract, they send off an electrical signal, and these sharks can detect it using the ampullae of Lorenzini. So Lorenzo Lorenzini, I believe he was an Italian, who discovered these jelly-filled pockets, and he theorized that they were a sensory pore. And he was correct. This is probably about the 16th century. He was an anatomist, and he would just cut up different organisms and find out about their anatomy. He was a physician and ichthyologist as well. So barbels, they greatly increase the ability to find prey. The skin extensions under the mouth right here have chemoreceptors that allow them to essentially taste the food or taste around. Nictitating membrane, so this is the membrane that covers the eyes during predation or attacks. That's this right here. It comes up and protects the eyes during attacks. The lateral line. The lateral line can be seen right here in red, and it detects motion and vibration in the water. So as a fish is swimming, it will move the water around it as it's swimming, and as it does that, that pressure and movement of that water will send a signal. It'll ripple through the rest of the water, and when it hits a portion of the lateral line, it knows in which direction that fish is at. So water will enter this pore as it's moved, and it will move these cilia, these little cells, and then these cells will send a signal to the brain telling it that there is prey in this direction. Spiracles. Spiracles are respiratory openings on the head so that they can breathe on the bottom. So really important, not all sharks will have these spiracles, like shown here. Squalene. Squalene is a low-density compound found in liver of cartilaginous fish, and it's used to help with buoyancy. So low density meaning that in water it's going to be able to move its way up, and what it really is unique is that it's kind of their adaptation in comparison to bony fish. So bony fish have a swim bladder, which is an organ that fills with a gas, and it can move its way through the water column, either deeper or shallower waters. Whereas a shark, it is more adapted to moving deeper or shallower because of this liver. It makes it a lot quicker, and it doesn't have to basically compensate or change that amount of gas within that organ like the fish does. It can move much more fluidly through different depths of water, which makes it a much better hunter. Another thing about this liver is that squalene is found in a lot of facial creams and makeup. If you ladies can check your makeup and see if you ever see the contents of squalene, it's thought to have regenerative features for skin. Claspers. Claspers are on male sharks. They're used to channel sperm to the female cloaca. And so right here on the right, you can see the claspers down here. Ram ventilation. This is ensuring that adequate flow goes over the gills by swimming forward. So for oxygen to exchange in the gills, they have to keep moving forward. Gill pump. Gill pump is used in some sharks to keep oxygen going over the gills while not swimming. And this uses a spiracle. So the spiracle opening is where water goes in, and then the gill pump pushes that water over the gills so that way the oxygen is exchanged. Homeothermic. So homeothermic means that keeping the body temperature slightly above ambient temperature. We discussed that sharks are ectothermic, but sharks that have a rete mirabile can have a slightly warmer temperature. All right, pelagic. Pelagic means open ocean or open ocean water column, and it means that it's not too close to the bottom or the shore. And then finally benthic. We have benthic meaning the bottom, and that extends from the shoreline to the deepest parts of the ocean floor. So now we're going to go over a few of the ways that you're going to see the prefixes, suffixes, and roots used. So we learned about iso and circle, iso meaning same, and circle meaning tailed. And so here's a picture of an isocircle tail or caudal tail. Here's a homocircle, which means same tail, and notice that these two are very similar. Next you have heterocircle, which means different tail top and bottom. So this lobe of the tail is much longer than this one. This one will provide lift for the shark. Carcharodon carchar. This means jagged carchar, and odon means tooth, and carchar means jagged, and this is a scientific name for great white shark, this guy right here. Oviparous. Oviparous means egg, ovi, and parous means birth. This is in reference to the reproduction of sharks. So sharks can have oviparous birth, meaning that sharks give birth to sharks in this, which is called a mermaid's purse. It's called a mermaid's purse because it looks like a clutch. It kind of looks like a purse, but inside you actually have a developing shark with a yolk and all the nutrients it needs to develop, and when it's time for it to hatch, it will come out of this mermaid's purse and be a fully developed shark. Viviparous. Viviparous means live birth. So live birth is another way in which a shark can reproduce and have a living shark come out of the mother. So out of the uterus can come a living shark. So sharks are really unique in that they have a couple of different ways in which they can be born. They can be oviparous, like we just discussed, where they come out of a mermaid's purse, or they can be viviparous, where they come born living. There's also a few other ones which are ovoviviparous, so ovo meaning egg, vivip means living, and then parous means birth. So essentially you have a mermaid's purse that is inside of the mother, and then it develops and uses up all the yolk in the mother, hatches within the mother, and then is born living. So it is ovoviviparous. And then finally you have internal cannibalism, which is only found in sand tiger sharks. So sand tiger sharks have 2 uteri, and in those 2 uteri they'll have 20 plus pups, and the largest of the pups will actually cannibalize all of its brothers and sisters, and it'll eat all of the younger, smaller sharks and develop into a 3-foot shark, and over the end of its gestation it'll come out, 2 sharks will come out fully grown, possibly 3 feet long, and that's really unique, where you'll have this cannibalism of only the strong surviving in sand tiger sharks. All right, here I want you to tell me which one is the male and which one is the female. If you said that the male is the one with the claspers on the left and the female is the one without it, then you're correct. All right, so what is the low density compound found in shark livers that we discuss? If you said squalene, you're correct. So what zone of the ocean are these guys in, the sharks, I mean? And if you said pelagic, you are correct. So what is ram ventilation? So it is when a fish must swim forward in order to push water over the gills. All right, next we're going to be discussing a few of the fins. There's 5 different types of fins on sharks. The dorsal ones are actually constituted as one single type. The caudal is another, the anal, the pelvic, and the pectoral. So let's go ahead and test your knowledge of all of this. So dorsal fin is going to be used for stability. The pectoral fin is going to provide lift. And also the caudal fin is going to be forward movement and lift. So if it's heterocircled, it also provides lift. Let's review these. This one right here would be known as the first dorsal fin. This one right here on the back would be the second dorsal fin, and these are both one type. Next we have the caudal fin, that's right. And then we have the anal fin, followed by the pelvic fin, and lastly we have the pectoral fins. And that's it. That's all we have for today. Thank you all for watching this. Please make sure you select that you turned in this assignment, and thank you all for being here. I appreciate you watching, and have a great day.